Okay, I wasn't, let me see. Let me see. All right, I'm not hearing. Could you? Okay, so we have audio now. All right? Yeah, I think we have audio now. All right, guys. Yeah, so as long as we have audio, we're good to go. Yes, yes, yes. All right, guys, so like I said, today is going to be a show that I feel will, let me go. Yeah, a show that will be very informative, but I don't want this show to be one that will just have me talking. I want it to be one that will be engaging because we have some very important things that we will be discussing. Like I said, we have, like, first of all, let me just say today is a special day. 1st March 2022, there's a lot going on, of course, for us in Belize and in some parts of Canada as well. You have different things happening. One of those things has to do, of course, with the lifting of certain restrictions. All right, and so this 1st March 2022 is one that will be very important. So it's also important for me. 16 years ago was when I was 1st March 2016 was when I was first elected as mayor of Belize City. That was my first term in office. So 1st March 2006, and so 1st March is a special day for me. But it's also another day. A woman who was like my second mom, Mrs. Adelia Young. This was gonna be her birthday, 81 years old, and so she passed away recently. And so happy birthday in heaven, Mrs. Young. And again, you know, we celebrate her life, and she was an awesome woman. All right, so with that said, I want to just say that tonight we will be discussing, first of all, the new statutory instrument. It's important for us because many of us have had, come on, it's been 2 years, all right, a little over 2 years that we have been dealing with this, you know, this what they call this pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic. So it's been a while, and we have been dealing with it. Since then, we had to, there were certain restrictions and certain things that were asked of us during this time. And so, you know, some of them are now being lifted. And one of those has to do with the wearing of masks, of which to many of us that has been a concern, because it's just something that was problematic for us, you know, like for me, it certainly was. I mean, I don't know how some of these people deal with it, but all of us are built differently. Some people are fine, you see them with their thick masks, you know, and they're okay just breathing in all their nasty air. That's them, you know, and they've been fine with it. And some of them, I see them on social media stating that they're going to continue wearing their masks. Hey, that's their right, you know, that's their right. But for the rest of us who want to breathe fresh air like God intended us to breathe, God never made us with our nose closed up and covered. He made us with our nostrils open, and, you know, it's to breathe fresh air, you know, oxygen. And so I just want to tell you that it's definitely a relief for so many of us. All right, so that is one of the things that has to do with this SI. The other thing, of course, and again, you know, there's a back and forth because people are saying, oh, you know, you should continue. There's different variants. Hey, there's always gonna be different variant. You know, that's just how it is, you know. So if you wanna continue your life and just continue wearing a mask, that's gonna be on you. But don't be asking. I see certain persons stating, you know, that they should have been contacted. So since they had COVID, to ask them their opinion about wearing masks. You know, hey, these particular individuals that I'm talking about were fully vaccinated, and it was after they got vaccinated that they got COVID, and they got COVID, and they got really bad COVID, you know, in hospital and everything. Some of us, that has not been the case. So to ask us to now continue wearing masks because of you, that is being selfish. I feel it's being selfish. You understand? We want to breathe fresh air, and that's how it is. Now, I want to just say though that let me see, I have certain of the comments, but like I said, I want to make sure that I don't miss anything. I normally use my phone, right? And so this is why let me just see. Okay. All right. Yeah. So the other thing, and thank you, Eliseo Boteo. Thank you. Another one of the things has to do with the curfew. No, again, the curfew hasn't affected a lot of people because a lot of people don't go out. You know, it's not a big deal for them. And so rushing home for 11 o'clock, I mean, it has been different time. I believe at times it has been, I think at one point it even went to 8 p.m. That was when it was really bad, but that wasn't usually the case. It was 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, then 11 o'clock. I mean, so you had to rush home, and even this show was to be at 8 o'clock. But because of the curfew, we had to move up the show to 7 p.m. Now, some people like it, some people it's not convenient for them. Because some people, they're just getting home, or, you know, some of them, they're coming from one district to the other, and they have to go on, they have to be coming down on buses. By the time they reach home, you know, they have to shift off. It's not convenient for them. However, we had to move up the show to 7 p.m. so that we could meet the curfew, which was at one point in time was, I believe, 9 o'clock, 9 p.m. And so to have this show, and our guests had to rush home so that they could beat the curfew. So again, it was very restrictive. So I'm very pleased that has been lifted. And again, some people, it won't affect them, and that's fine. And some others, it will affect them. Now, there's other things. They're saying now that to enter certain areas, public buildings, you know, or government buildings, you know, grocery stores and so forth, you have to, restaurants, even on the bus, you have to, churches, you have to wear your mask. All right, you have to wear a mask, and they even want that you be vaccinated. You see? And so, Minister Kevin Bernard, he and his team, you know, whilst we are happy that the mask has been lifted, of which I think it should have been lifted a long time ago. I mean, you know, I've spoken to Dr. Zuniga and other doctors, and I've watched so many other doctors and medical practitioners and so forth stating that wearing masks, you know, isn't for the healthy, it's for the sick. So someone like me who, you know, the only thing I have is, you know, an occasional sinus, is I'm not sick. So someone like me shouldn't have be forced to wear a mask. And so many of us the same way. But if you're sick, then that's fine, you wear your mask. So now they're saying though that you have to be vaccinated. And so again, some people have not. been vaccinated, and so that will affect them to enter these particular premises that you have to be. So while they, while they're saying no mask, they're enforcing the vaccination. So that's very disingenuous in my view. And initially when I had seen the notice, I did not know that part. I did not, because I had not seen or read the SI, read the full, they have like this amended law. So I hadn't read that. It's a few pages, I did not read it. But when you're looking at it now, you're seeing that there's still, it's all a matter of control. You understand? And so I was speaking to one of my doctor friends, and I had to laugh because he said, so what happened? He said, so is it that the virus is hiding and only in restaurants and churches, and public buildings? Is that where it's hiding? Grocery stores, is that where the virus is hiding? You see? And even it was, and I had to laugh at that, because I was like, yes, doc, you're correct, what are they saying? And even they're saying, okay, at home, that no, you're not to wear it. I don't know anybody who would be at their home wearing a mask. Like, were there really people at their house wearing a mask? I guess so, because I've seen a lot of people, for some reason, they seem to be a bit paranoid, K Banner. All right, have not heard about that part. Well, yes, girl, there are certain areas that I was not aware of until I read it. All right, and so I'm just bringing this forward because we need to understand, right, that our rights are still being restricted. You see, people's rights are still being restricted, so we can't let our guard down. You see, when you're going to state that people have to be fully vaccinated to do certain things, that's still control. When in fact, the science have said, and by all accounts, because now you actually see advertisements. Yes, I've seen advertisement now stating, those usual advertisements where they would be saying, hey, if you ever took this particular drug, and you know suffering from, this particular disease, that particular illness, contact this particular attorney to be a part of to try and get compensation in a lawsuit, class action suit, for example. Well, I've already heard about it as it regards to the COVID vaccine, COVID-19 vaccine. So I've already heard that people are already suing. People have been suing already. And so you're just going to get more of that. But it seems, unfortunately, and you know what, I'm trying to see the messages here. It seems, unfortunately, that some people are not being mindful of that, and I believe that you need to be mindful of that. You understand? Because otherwise our rights will continue. And see, if one person does not, let me just make sure, I want to see the comments. I'm trying to see the live feed. Okay, let me see. I see one of my friends saying that they're not seeing the thing, but it's looking very good. It's looking very good. So I'm not sure why he's not seeing it very well. Let me see. I'm trying to read comments at the same time, but I'm not seeing these for some. Okay, here it is. Haven't heard about that. Then Nancy says, thanks to Aya, I don't need vaccine and wearing mask to enter heaven. That's true. That's true. And Isaac Kelly said, none of us is vaccinated. Yes, Alicia had said good to go. And yes, Judah. Yes, Jake and Jacqueline. I'm glad the order is fixed. Top of the night, Keenan. And blessed night to you as well, Nancy. All right. So, yeah. So I'm just really commenting it. First time I'm really trying to look at the comments and trying to make sure that I see them. Normally I look at my phone. So anyway, guys, so we can't let her guard down. That's what I want to say. Now, the fact that even gyms, nightclubs, and I know some of you say, well, you don't go to nightclub, you don't go to gyms and all that, so it doesn't affect you. But again, just keep in mind that those are affected. You have to understand the entertainment industry has not, they have not worked for 2 years. You understand? Imagine our artists and all that, a lot of them, most of them have not done any work for 2 years. So when you may be okay, and I've seen, like, for example, certain attorneys, they've never, like, certain have been fighting for the people, but to tell the truth, the masses, most of them have never done anything or helped the people in this particular area. You've had some trying to push for our rights to be restricted and to be taken away from us. And when I've seen those particular individuals pushing for a lockdown and for borders to close and all that, and I see how these people are wealthy, and I don't know if the Belizean people see that these people are wealthy, they're well off. So they can push for the economy to be closed off. These people can, these particular individuals, and some of them are very open and boisterous, and they seek attention, so you know who they are. And they push for the economy to be closed. They push for our rights to be taken away. They push for us to be arrested, if we don't wear our masks, or if we don't, listen exactly and keep in a little, keep in our houses. So, but these individuals, you look at them, these are the same people who can afford to have to not go out to work because work come to them. They are attorneys. You call an attorney, don't you? I get so many calls. People call me now. They call me trying to get through to particular attorneys who I know. And so they're always trying to contact me. So I will send out notice to these particular attorneys. Hey, so and so and so. So I get a lot of that. All right? So I know that these attorneys are called upon versus the average Jane and Joe. Poor thing, some of them jump on their bike and they have to go to work. They have to jump on the bus. They have to go to work. You understand? And if there's no work, if their work is not open, is closed, then they were laid off. And don't tell me about the little money that they got every 2 weeks. That was very minimal. It was something with fairness, but it was minimal. Okay? And it was very minimal for those people who had bigger families and those people who were working and genuinely want to work. You had certain people who were unemployed and some people who never wanted to work. They got money and they were very satisfied with it. But for the others who've been working, were working, that money was not enough. And so we got to look at that particular situation in terms of the SI, and I don't want to get all into it, but suffice to say that you got to be able to look at those particular areas. You understand that you can only be a part of go to certain areas and be a part of wedding, christening, funerals and all these things, and there's still certain restrictions. I mean, this is terrible. I know they're trying to force that you have to be, vaccinated. You know what I'm saying? So we need to be able to look at it. We need to, you see, okay, see, they list the church services and all of those. You understand? All of those things. The case of church services, weddings, funerals, social club events, and so on. All right? Masks are required if the ceremony is held indoors. Okay? If it's held indoors, and I believe most church services are held indoors, and weddings, if it rains, you have to have it. Right? Funerals and social club events. All right? But not if it's outdoor. You understand? Again, social distancing remains required. Okay? It also says that proof of immunization must be presented to enter, access any gathering covered in the sub-regulation above. And I was discussing some of those. You see, you got your church services, you got your wedding ceremony, you know, your funerals, wake, you know, sporting, recreational event, and so forth, no? Like different fraternal events. So like if you're a part of Chamber of Commerce, I think Belize Tourism Industry Association, places like, you know, entities like those, you know, Belize and Rights and Justice Movement, if we were to have a meeting, though all those restrictions, you understand, are in a private club, they said. So you hear what I'm saying? Social event, including a concert, dance, banquet, and other reception. So we need to know that there are still restrictions, be careful, but we have to ensure that more of these restrictions are lifted. There are certain countries where they've been lifted fully. Fully. Okay? As I mentioned, and I had mentioned previously, you've even had England. They've lifted it. They've lifted it. They lifted it a few weeks ago. You understand? And you also have other countries. So again, we have to push to ensure that these restrictions, because they're going to hurt us. Now, we had spoken about the job portal and the fact that there's still certain persons and certain entities and certain individuals who still require people to wear and to be fully vaccinated. All right, believe you me, there are still some persons. I feel that that goes against our constitutional rights. However, you know, for example, let me just tell you, like the court case. The court case, the date, they had to, when the SI kept changing and so forth, this is what was told to me by the particular attorneys, that they had to be, and then the court did not hear the matter at the time as well. They had to change and redo certain things, even the affidavit, so certain things had to be renewed. The Queen's Counsel had to be, you know, they had to try to get that person called to the bar. So when we've not heard, I mean, this is how it has been. Government has been restricting and ensuring that they block certain things, and then they try to, I mean, you would almost feel that it's because these attorneys are not doing their part. But when they put certain things and then they say, oh, well, you have to wheel and come again, so to speak, you see what we're talking about? I saw, for example, I had seen a reporter from Channel 7 today speaking about how the control, you know, that she was stopped from being able to cover a particular event, of which she ought, all the media houses ought to have gotten the opportunity to cover the event. However, it was not. And so what I will tell you is that these particular situations cannot go just like that. We have to note that these things are happening. All right? And you now have to keep your eyes open. All of us have to keep our eyes open, and certain things have to carry on. And so I will tell you that we now have to wake up these individuals, because the way I see it, these people their minds are just glued in. All right? Yes, good night, good night. Their eyes, good night, Calbert. Good night, Geraldo, all the way from PG, my friend. We have to ensure that we now are opening up these people's eyes, because for over 2 years now, they are so used to going along with the program. They have accepted it. The government will expect that all of us accept it. And I can't say that all of us have and will accept these particular measures. Okay? Now, the other thing I wanted to say, therefore, when it comes to the Belizean Rights and Justice Movement job portal, the person who was dealing with it, he did get sick, but it wasn't COVID, it was something else. I won't get into it. And so that is something that he's finishing up. All right, so but it's already on there. If you go on our website, it's there, but certain things he has to tweak and things like that. Okay, so Winston, I'm happy that you're okay, my friend. I'm happy that you're okay right now. And so he will be moving full speed ahead to continue to develop it. All right, because when you deal with software and when you're building certain things, it's not like, okay, it's just like that, you know. It's a job portal and he has to build it. And so the other thing that I want to say, so that's there. The other thing, but you have to understand that we will want certain employers to put forth. It's not only those who need a job that will be going there to search and probably put up that they need a job and things like that. It's employers, all right? It's employers who will need to go there and say, oh, I need this person, I need that particular person, and so forth, okay? Like, for example, I need someone right now, and so I would have wanted, I had spoken with him to see if I can go ahead and put up my job notice, because I do want a particular individual, you understand? But he said, well, certain things he just needs to tweak. And so I've been waiting for a while because I wanted it to go through there. But it's taking quite a while. I may have to just do it elsewhere because I really need another staff member in this particular area. And the Freedom Convoy now, I want to just tell you that when it comes to this Freedom Convoy, we have been seeing Canada. Now Canada has been, man, they were in it from the beginning of January. I mean, kudos to them. These were awesome people from early January. And they have been awesome in terms of carrying the plight, carrying it forward, okay? And so I want to tell you that big up to the Canadians, but what I want to say now is that I see the Americans now, they have been very, they have been there, and they are ensuring that I saw them in Indiana. I was watching it live today. I felt very good about it. And I saw that they were there in Indiana. And I felt, wow, you see, because the USA for a great period of time, it has been the USA who you would have thought would have been the one to really push this forth. You guys can see everything because I don't know, I see the is it just where I'm looking? It looks kind of hazy. Are you guys seeing well? All right. Okay, so I see, yeah, Beverly Lemoyne. Yeah, good night. Good night, Richard. Good night, Richard. Belial, good night. Good night. All right, Beverly said it's back on. Okay, so some of these, okay, it said it went off. All right, again, it's the internet. We just have to ensure that you, okay, the internet had dropped. The internet had dropped. So just make sure that it's all right then. Thanks very much. All right, so with that said, I want to say that the Freedom Convoy, we have to note that the USA has picked up the mantle. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau had gone ahead and he had cleared the spot. He had really, you know, I guess he saw that the truckers had really gained momentum. So not only had he stopped and blocked their financing, but he literally sent out his troops to clear them away, you know, from these Ottawa, which is the capital, and clear them from all the streets and from the squares and, you know, so forth, from the capital square. So what they're doing now, you still see some of them walking around. They have their placard, and what they've indicated that instead of staying right through, some of them were staying right through. That's why they needed additional monies to just stay right through in the snow and all these things. What they've been doing it more during working within the particular guidelines. So from 8, for example, from during working hours, they said 8 to 5. So again, They haven't given up. They're still there, and there's pressure continuing to mount. And with the opposition, you know, their voices have been heard, is being heard. But it's something that when you have a dictator, and now we're seeing particular individuals who are dictators, and this is something I had commented upon, that you have certain people that now they're showing their true colors as to who they are. And clearly, in the case of the Prime Minister of Canada, he's showing his true colors. You understand? And the people now have said that this is a dictator. We also have the US. And now these people are stepping forward. I mean, in a state like New York, you know, it's a big deal when you see people from New York, Indiana, and so forth stepping forward. It's good for democracy, you see? And so we see these people stepping forward. They're out there protesting against this mandate. And of course, you see people who have taken the vaccine, all right? The people who have taken the vaccine, they're still out there supporting those who have not, you see? And that is how it ought to be, because we have never said we are enemies with those who are vaccinated. I certainly will not ever say that I'm an enemy of anybody who is vaccinated. I'm not going to say that one bit, because I have my closest family members who are fully vaccinated and boosted. I mean, I don't believe they ought to have done so, but they felt they had to be boosted and everything, you know what I'm saying? And they'll say they got their boosts, and so that's just how it is. I can't hate them. That's their right to do it. I just hope that they'll be okay. And, you know, I've always said if they were not, then, you know, I will be there to support them, you know, however it goes for them. You know what I'm saying? I will be there. I'll carry on if I need to carry on. You know what I'm saying? I love them. But I could never have forced them to do anything, just like they couldn't force me to do anything. You understand? We all have our free will. And so with that said, when it comes to this particular freedom convoy, all our Belizean Americans and all our families who are abroad who don't support this mandate need to note that these convoys are out there. And there'll be certain rallies or gatherings or protests, and if you want to be a part of it, be a part of it. That's in the US, they still have constitutional rights, although in Belize we ought to have, but clearly, you know, it's only some of us who was really fighting, you see. And so when it's just a few of us fighting and the others just sit back and watch us fight, they will come after some of us who are bullseye. You understand? And I can say, because I'm, as far as I know, I lived it. All right? I lived it. And Nancy says, isn't the president of Canada the grandson of Fidel Castro? You know what? You know what, Nancy? It is said that he's the son of Fidel Castro. That's what it said. That his mom had gone there, you know, during the time, and, you know, she had gone there on her own, and when she came back, you know, little Justin was there, you know, and Justin looks just like him. I don't know, I have some of my Canadian friends who tell me that is the case. Right, Jacqueline? Right, Jake? I have a few that will outright tell you that that's the case. Now, I also see, good night, Yolanda Mackenzie, good night, my friend, good night. And so we have to, okay. Yes, Jacqueline, Prime Minister is the son of Fidel Castro, open secret in Canada. You understand? And I'll be frank with you, he looks like him. If you really look at it and you take a good look, he does look like him. These things happen, guys, these things happen, you know. But that's just the situation. So that is as it regards the Freedom Convoy. I'm moving ahead because I have a number of things that I want to discuss and I want to engage you guys in it. So one of those things now has to do with the rise in oil prices. I have the rise in oil prices, but before that, the Russia-Ukraine war. Now this is something that's a very sticky situation. It's a very sticky situation. This Russia-Ukraine war. All right, so even though some of us have never been to Russia or Ukraine, we are being affected by it. You see the rise in oil prices. Remember, we were already going through a rise in oil prices anyway, rising food prices, food shortage, but it has just gotten worse. And even in the US now, the cost of the fuel is going sky high. These people are not used to fuel going up beyond. They would buy fuel at $1 and something cents, $2 and something cents. So for them now to be looking at possibly $5, I'm not even sure the exact price where it's at right now today, but going up to $5 and all these people aren't used to this thing. We now in Belize, you understand? I have my housekeeper saying that the fuel has gone up beyond $14 and something in her neck of the wood. You see? So this is something real. And this Ukraine-Russia war, some people say it's World War III, some people say it's not yet. The jury is out on that one, where exactly it is. But the fact that certain countries are stepping in, you understand? And that's why you're looking at it. And it has a history. Now, I wanted us to look at what we feel, who is right and wrong. But, you know, some people are staunchly in support of the Ukraine. Why? Because, in their view, the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, has been, they see Vladimir as, you know, this evil dictator. Remember, it's a communist country. This evil, well, it was supposed to be a democratic one, but the way how it's run, well, it used to be communist, then it was to be democrat, then it's really communist. It's just weird. Remember when the Great Wall was removed? But the point is that they see this person as a dictator. They see this particular person as somebody who is evil and who just is a troublemaker. All right? Now, if you go back, and some of you will go back to when they had Mikhail Gorbachev. You remember that name? You remember that man? Remember he had like a stain on his head? I don't know. He looked like a stain on his head. You remember on his top of his head? Okay, so remember when he was in charge of USSR? No. All of this happened, and you know, back then a lot was going on. They had different countries. They were, you know, all a part of this. The Ukraine was one of them, and so a number of them, you know, they broke off or were annexed. And now what we're seeing now is the fact that some people feel that they were never to have been annexed from Russia. They still have a support for Russia, and then they have some who are happy about it. So you see what's happening? You see what's happening? Now, I don't want to liken it in any way, shape, or form to us and Guatemala, because that's how some people would say, you know, we're small, we're smaller than Guatemala, and so it's like a Ukraine, we being Ukraine, Russia being Guatemala. People would say it's a totally different war, all right? It's apples and orange. Why? Because Ukraine was a part of USSR. They were a part, they were together. And then when, remember, there was a split up and all of those things, different of their states, they got separated. And so we were never a part of Guatemala. Never. Never were we a part of Guatemala. And so there's a difference. There's a total difference. And I need people to understand that so that they don't liken us with this particular, let me just check this thing here because I don't want to miss anything here. Yeah, we were never a part of Guatemala, so please do not in any way try to come across like we're in the same boat. Then the next thing is, when you look at Russia now, from Mikhail Gorbachev's days, you're gonna see that this particular person is it seems to be, I'm not saying he's a good guy or not a good guy, all right? Okay, we have been watching the mass media, and what we have seen is that this man has been somebody who has been said to be a dictator. So I'm not going to say that he's a good guy or he's a bad guy. Suffice to say, however, what he's saying, and I read a colleague of mine had shared it and said that this particular Putin is fighting for something that in aggrievement of what is happening. You understand? What is being said in a nutshell is that there were supposed to be certain, if, for example, it's only the countries who are to have nuclear weapons or store nuclear weapons should be also the one, I believe, who helps to make it. So you can't store it or house it or host it if in fact you don't manufacture it and things like that, something to that nature. And so what exactly Gonzalo Herrera is saying, exactly two different situations. You're correct, my friend. And so what we're looking at though is that Vladimir Putin is saying that back then when it was Mikhail Gorbachev, certain treaties, certain understandings were made. They were made. Remember, you used to have the Cold War, and you remember even under President Reagan, right, Ronald Reagan. And so back in those days, they said, all right, go ahead, get rid of all your, these weapons of mass destruction and all that. And, they agreed to certain things. Some of these things had to do with NATO, all right? And who would and would not be a part of NATO, okay? And who could host these weapons of mass destruction, and that you can't come into another person's place and, pretty much provoke them. And so that's what he's saying. He's saying now that, hey, listen, you guys have slowly been adding additional people to NATO, all right? Slowly adding, I'm not sure, Hungary, Romania, all these countries, Poland. And now you want to add now the Ukraine. Ukraine is applying, they want to be a part of NATO. And so now, Russia is saying, but hey man, we already agreed that these countries wouldn't have been a part of it. I know you want to deny us, but you want to allow them. And so that is one of the issues that he seems to have. And the fact that if they are not building these particular weapons, they ought not to be hosting it, because it is seen that it's the US, all right, the US now that is friendly with the Ukraine, all right, so that they can host it there, so that at any given time they can, overtake a Russia. You understand? So it's like, I don't think I need to give anything further, just to say that people have likened it to say, hey, listen, suppose the US now would go ahead and put, I don't know, something in Mexico, right? And the other country has an issue with it, right? Because that shouldn't have been. They're not makers of it. But they're doing it so that then they can have that control and they can go to that particular weapon and utilize it when they need to, and if there's a war and they need to take over. Remember, this isn't far-fetched. This isn't far-fetched. We've been seeing wars. You understand? It's just sad that I look at wars when it comes to in African countries, and to me, it doesn't get the amount of leverage and publicity. Like, for example, the one in Syria. You understand? Remember, I worked in Beirut, Lebanon, you know. I was at a multinational company working. I was their head of government affairs and public relations. All right, it's a multinational. It's all over the world. And so that's their headquarters in Beirut, Lebanon. And so I was working there. I was in charge of that. And I'll tell you, I had mentioned it before. I was taken care of. They used to drive me. I got housing. I good pay, whatever. But I used to have a driver and a vehicle that would drive me back and forth to work. You know, I worked in a skyscraper, and they gave me housing at this real nice hotel. You know, so I was well off. I was well off, extremely well off. And but I used to have a driver, right? A native driver, and he would drive me every day to work. Well, when I'm working on weekends, I didn't work, right? And unless there was because I was, a head, I was a director, and so I would still have to meet. I would go out, I would hang out with some of my friends and so forth. So he'd still drive me to where we go hang out, to whichever place we go to hang out at. The point now, we would pass some of these particular buildings that were bombed. You understand? This is what I saw. We're not used to this in Belize, but I saw this there. You understand? And then you hear about all these different Muslims. I mean, I can't tell you I know all about these Shiite Muslims and all these different Muslims. I can't tell you I know about all these people. You understand? But that's what I would be told. I'm driving along. Well, I'm not driving, but they're driving me along. And I would be seeing this, and I would be seeing this building, this skyscraper that was, bombed. And I would be told, and I was like, my gosh, I hope I don't get, I'm not there and I don't get bombed. And so this is what is happening there now. So this thing is serious. He has seen it. When I was doing my bachelor's degree in Spokane, Washington, I had one of my closest friends, Anna Kapor, right? So that's when Yugoslavia was, it was chopped up. You had Bosnia, Serbia. She had to flee. And so she had gone, and she was attending school where I was, along with other individuals, of course. She and I were like this. We hung out together. I mean, so I know about war. I had my other friends also from Syria, from Iraq, when I did my master's in Michigan. And so I know what they went through, and they lost family members. They were there, refugees, and they're still there, by the way. Most of them are still living in the U.S. So they lost so much. Like I had one of my friends, his family was so wealthy, part Russian as well, and they lost so much. They had they had this huge mansion, this 100-year-old mansion, and all these wealth and all that, and all these different things, and they lost it. Memorabilia and all these things, they lost it. And so this is real, and so the hate that they have for certain leaders is real. And what we're looking at now, and I'm not taking up for any sides, I'm just telling you that I've been listening to the different sides. And so whilst you see prayer for Ukraine, and we have to pray for Ukraine because, they are really, you don't want anybody dying, but innocent Russians are also dying. At least that is what is told to us. So let me just read this though, so I don't want to. Okay. Yes, Sid Williams says, man, look at all the viewers. Cabra said, watching with you. Nancy DePaz says, he is fighting against a new world order. You see what I'm saying? He's fighting against a new world order. That's what people are saying. You see? And I'll get into that right now. And Gonzalo says, Russia allowed the reunification of Germany on condition that the West would not move towards the East. Yet the West has continuously moved toward Russia, and now they're on Russia's doorstep. Russia has every right to defend itself and push them back. Okay? You heard what Gonzalo Heredia says, and this is the sentiment that people are saying. They're saying Russia allowed the reunification of Germany on condition that the West would not move towards the East. Yet the West has continuously moved towards Russia, and now they're on Russia's doorstep, right? Ukraine. Russia has every right to defend itself and push them back, all right? And Judah Booth is saying, you're right, Gonzalo. All right, so Jacqueline is saying, you're right. So this is something, this is what is being said. And another thing that, okay, Jacqueline is saying, Putin didn't want a war. He actually wanted to join NATO under Obama, but was denied. But the New World Order war machine denied him because they needed a country to have a war with. You understand? The New World Order war machine denied him because they needed a country. You see, Vladimir Putin has been demonized. However, I have heard him, just like I would listen to certain people, and I've told you about certain leaders, how they would stand up against certain things that we don't believe in. And that's why I will want you to play a video. There's a video with President Vladimir Putin, and he's saying there, and he's even going into Venezuela, right? He's even going into Venezuela. Now you have to understand, some people love Venezuela, some of us love Venezuela, some of us don't love Venezuela. It all has to do with, you know, our take on it. Communism, socialism, capitalism, and some of us, Venezuela has been demonized. You understand? And so, but now I'm going to show you a video, but before we should, just cue up the video, please. The Prime Minister. And then I want to just say that this particular Vladimir Putin has been someone who has fought against certain New World Order initiative. They had their own vaccine. I'm just telling you, they had their own Russian vaccine. They didn't use the ones that were given to Belizeans and things like that. They made their own. You understand? He has also fought against, you know, like even same-sex marriages, things like those. You know what I'm saying? So certain things that like Hillary Clinton was pushing, and I won't even say Barack Obama, because with fairness to Barack, when he first got in, he wasn't pushing same-sex marriage. It wasn't him who was doing it. You understand? I was a big supporter of him, and he wasn't doing it. But afterwards, he just fell right in and he started to do it. So it's just certain initiatives, but certain people, certain leaders stood against it, especially African countries or African brothers and sisters. Their countries, they stood against it. They were some of the key countries, but some of the major countries, they just fell for it. Australia, New Zealand, Canada, USA, and so forth. Now, you have to watch this particular video. It's only 1 minute long. I believe it's just 1 minute long, but you got to watch it. It's with Vladimir Putin, and you're going to see how he goes to Guatemala. Please go ahead and roll it.
Tonight, new details emerging on the escalating military tensions between the U.S. and Russia. As Pentagon officials game out a response to Russian aggression in Europe, Vladimir Putin is now making some serious moves in the Caribbean. Our Brian Todd is all over the story for us. Give us the latest, Brian.
Wolf, tonight, Putin is on America's doorstep with nuclear-capable bombers that can fly at twice the speed of sound. It's a bold move right out of the Cold War as the Russian president tries to establish a military foothold near American shores. A Russian bomber with an impressive wingspan touches down at America's doorstep. The Tu-160 has to deploy parachutes to slow down. Russian pilots, decked out in helmets and orange jumpsuits, climb out to a hero's welcome. 2 of these bombers, nicknamed Blackjacks, are in Venezuela tonight. Vladimir Putin has deployed these warplanes, along with 2 support aircraft, to conduct exercises over the Caribbean with Venezuelan forces. A worrisome development for Washington, considering the capability of the Russian bombers, which can fly twice the speed of sound.
This bomber was designed to do both high-altitude and low-altitude penetration of airspace with nuclear weapons, to deliver nuclear weapons on target. This aircraft was designed to be an offensive-capable weapon to get into our airspace during the Cold War.
The deployment comes on the heels of Putin's recent military aggressions against Ukraine on land and sea, and countermoves by U.S. forces. Analysts say Putin is sending an unmistakable signal to the United States tonight.
He's clearly trying to send a message to the United States that he can play in our backyard and that Russia maintains significant military capabilities.
Okay.
Trying to send a message to the United States that he can play in our backyard and that Russia maintains significant military capability.
Okay. So, all right, so what you saw there, now this is right in our backyard indeed. You know, when you talk about Venezuela, you know, we in Belize, most people love Venezuela. You know, it's a Latin American sister country, and you know, it's our people, it's our brothers and sisters in the region. And just like Cuba, you know, these people have had very close relationship with Russia, okay? And you look at their system, you know, their way of governance. People say some communism, socialism. The point is that some people see the good in them, some people see the bad in them. Now, and yes, Nancy, I do hear that you say CNN is fake news, but I wanted to show this simply because they had to acknowledge what Putin is doing, all right? That he's in Venezuela, they couldn't hide it, you see? And people need to understand that this is a war, and Jacqueline Booth is saying, highly recommend to watch today's podcast of True News that come to find out the truth about Ukrainian President Zelensky. It's shocking. And I can go into some of the things that has been said about him, you know. So in terms of, I mean, child trafficking, it is said that Ukraine has been a country that has been known for child trafficking. And when you see, and you have people who liked Donald Trump and some who did not like Donald Trump. But one of the things that is said was that he was one of the only presidents of recent times who have gone after child traffickers. You understand? He has sent people and they would conduct these sting operations and release and manage to rescue hundreds of children that were trafficked. You understand? Held as sex slaves and all these things. Held not only as sex slaves, but you know, for you know, blood and all these things. I mean, I want to have a show on that because this thing is real. And so when you see certain children that they disappear and all that, all these things happening, and you see certain people and they call them, you know, they're elite, and they get to, you know, engage in certain acts against children and all these people. It's really eye-opening. Some of us, we have been following and watching what has been happening. Now you have had President Trump gone after these people, and President Putin now, Vladimir Putin, have also been against that. You understand? And trying to somewhat, it is said, continue where Trump left off in terms of trying to fight the New World Order. And there's some of you, I saw somebody says, you know, misinformation. Well, the New World Order is something real. It is totally real. If you don't want to believe it and people don't want to believe that the New World Order exists, then That's them. You understand? But we know, we have been seeing and we have been speaking about it, and it is playing out. It used to be called conspiracy theory until all these theories have actually come to light, and they're now truths. All right? And so we have to really look at this particular thing and call it out and be careful. Why I brought this up is because now, and I can go on because I find it very fascinating. You understand? I find it very fascinating, and I'm watching it with a keen eye because I also know that you have China and Taiwan. You understand? China and Taiwan. So that's another potential war looming, or takeover, or capture, or seizure. You understand? And then of course people will be looking at Guatemala and Belize. You know, our case is supposed to be at the ICJ, International Court of Justice. However, we have what certain wars, Argentina, the Falkland Island, we have what certain of these particular seizures, and we know war, we know the repercussion. We were not a part of Central America when they went through war. We heard about it, remember? Remember, I know when I was a little girl, tiny little girl, I used to hear about what were happening, you know, Noriega and all these people, you know, as a little girl, but I heard what was happening, you see, and so, but we never lived it. But we do have refugees that came from these war-ridden countries. Belize, we've been lucky, you see. Even though we go through crime, when we say there's a war on crime, it's not war, military war. So we need to get in and really zero in and try to look at what really is happening with the Russia-Ukraine, because it is affecting us and it will affect what is pushed out. Because whatever the US wants to dictate upon the people, that is what, you know, will affect Belize as well. Okay? And so it's only the survival of the fittest, it's only the strongest country can combat them. You see? It's only the strongest country. All right? And I'm not saying we're so small. We can't combat some of these things. No, some of our leaders are weak. They will not stand up for anything. You understand? They're like mash up paper bag. They will not stand up for anything. Anything that these particular first world countries tell them to do, they're like, yes, massa, I'll do it. Yes, massa, I'll do it. That's how they are. And they feed at the trough, and they don't think for themselves, and that's what we saw. You understand? And that's why we had this World Health Organization dictating to us and telling what to do, and we had our doctors like, yes, massa, doing everything, you know, most of them, not all of them, just without even researching for themselves, without even looking at the repercussions. You see? And if the US says, okay, well, you're going to wear masks, well, mask it is that you're going to wear. Oh, you have to. They were really, really key in this thing. You understand? And the World Health Organization, and then it was only certain people who were fighting against it and demonized. So like Vladimir Putin, Donald Trump was also demonized. And you'll watch it, a number of people, when they stand up for truth, they're demonized. You understand? I can also say myself, I've been demonized. You understand? But, all right, no problem. Go ahead and demonize, you know. It's not going to stop some of us from continue to try and speak the truth, you know, and stand up for what is right. We're going to continue and do it. We're going to continue to try and speak and spread the truth, you know, so it's not going to stop us. So the rise in world oil prices now, see, Russia is one of the key producers, and they can survive. Now the US have their storage of fuel. They have their storage of fuel that they can go ahead and they can also survive for a while. Now one of the things that I had looked at in the case of a smaller country and smaller Caribbean countries like ourselves, and even Central American countries, is the fact that, and yes, Mexico has oil, Guatemala, but what we have to look at, El Salvador, what we have to look at is the fact that these particular countries, for example, in the tourism industry, it would affect greatly. For example, listen up. If in fact the oil prices hit this high, that these particular these flights say, you know what, we're going to ground unless we get oil that is subsidized by government. You understand? And not have market rate oil. I'm not saying they get market rate oil because they're buying volume. You understand? So they won't be paying the same price as the regular person who would go to fill up their vehicles. However, if they are not protected, the airline industry is not protected against these rising oil prices, it will mean skyrocketed airline prices, fares. That would affect us because they can do certain things. They could either say, hey, we're going to ground until that matter, ground these flights until that matter is dealt with, or they're going to raise the prices, all right, and or to survive, restrict certain flights. And some of those flights restricted could very well be flights that come to Belize, a smaller country. You understand? So it can affect us big time. And we have to look at it. Now, in the case of Belize now, we don't have a refinery. It's something that was said, you know, we're going to look at it, and I had always hoped we would have a refinery. But you have Mexico, and I can only hope that the Prime Minister and the Minister responsible for energy have already met with and called the President of Mexico and say, hey, listen, as your little sister country, we want a guarantee that we will have so much fuel coming our way in the event of. You understand? And so we can only hope that has been done. All right? What we have been seeing though is our Prime Minister stating that we have to start walking. We have to start to do some walking. Yes, the prices is going up, but we got to start walking. And while I won't refute that some of us do need to and can walk to work, we don't have to jump in our vehicles. Some of us, we can't be walking. Like me, I can't walk 5 miles or 5.5 miles, you know, in the scorching sun to go to buy something. You know what I'm saying? I can't do that and come back another 5 miles. It's not practical for me. You see, so that won't really work for someone like me. I understand what he's saying. I understand, and certain people can do that. Maybe they live right smack in the city and they can do that. But I can't tell you that implies to us. So before I go into that though, because afterwards I'll want the video for the Keystone pipeline, but hold on. All right, so let me just say, Gonzalo Heredia says, all the countries that refuse to be puppets of the U.S. empire, like Cuba, Venezuela, and Iran, by necessity, has to do business with Russia and should. Okay? Very good point, Gonzalo. Ruben Martinez says, Trump was dangerous for the elites of the New World Order. He was getting close to exposing too many secrets. Spot on, Ruben. Spot on. You're perfectly correct. He was doing that. And for those of us who was watching what he was doing, you understand? Really watching what he was doing, that is a fact. He was dangerous, and he didn't have a problem with calling out the elites of the New World Order. It was them who hated him, and that's why you have entities like CNN, Nancy says fake news, CNN, MSNBCs, you know, even Facebook, all these entities that really pushed Twitter and all, pushed him out the door, made sure that they did whatever it take. You see? Stephanie Juan Rosado, good night, my friend. There are videos on Rumble where they show people running in Ukraine like they are fighting, and it's all an act. And you know, Stephanie, one of the things that was sent to me is the fact that there's this movie about Ukraine some years back, and they're using footage. They're using footage from that movie. All right? And yes, right on Rumble, that's where they show they're using footage from that movie. So you can go to that movie and you see that that's the very footage. Now, I'm not saying war is not happening. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying they're using footage from that as well to show like all these things happening. All right? Yeah, so Nancy says she agrees. So these are things now that we have to open our eyes, and we have only, a lot of us are opening our eyes even more since this control, this pandemic, and we see that the lockstep is playing out. We spoke about the lockstep, so we see that it's been played out, and now we're opening our eyes. It's like the Bible. We used to only take it for granted, and we go to church or wherever we go to worship, and we just hear the first reading, second reading, and the responsorial psalm and the gospel read, right? Just a little 1 and 2 chapters, right? Or scripture verses. And they would speak about that. And a lot of us did not get to read the entire Bible to really see exactly what was happening. And it is only when you literally start to read it. And I've tried to do it. I think I've read, I don't know, probably almost all of it. Word for word. I've been there, gone there and read. You know what I'm saying? Read it. And it's until you do that, then you really start to see how things are manifesting. All right? And that is what is happening right now. So when you see these particular individuals attacking some of these leaders, we have to be careful. There's this Guyana Prime Minister who spoke about it. All right, so Keenan Flowell says, Nancy says right now the White House is closed. Keenan Flowell says this war going on now should not catch us by surprise because the Messiah warned us about wars and rumors of wars, but the end hasn't come as yet, but just signs of end times. We're living perilous times as we're in the age of new world order agenda, right? So you heard that. So some of us that are watching this, our minds, we are already enlightened. Some of us are already enlightened. Some persons who have just joined, they have not reached that level, or they're not aware of it. Through no fault of theirs, but that is why you have to try and hear both sides. You understand? You have to try. Why are they demonizing certain individuals? They have a saying in Belize, right? Nobody stone empty mango tree. Nobody stone empty mango tree. And so we have to really be careful, because we don't want to be, we don't want to just be a part of the sheep. You know, that they throw things at us and we're just seeing, and, you know, we're not aware, and so we just follow along and we go with what they're saying. We go with their script, because they have a script. And if you play by the script, you will feel okay. You will feel that you're all right. You understand? But if you're somebody who tries to seek the truth, then that will be a problem. And some of us do try to seek the truth. We do try to seek the truth. And I also want to say, though, that now we move from this rise in oil, because of this war, this rise in oil prices. And I told you now, Venezuela, you have Russia. What will Belize do? You understand? What will Belize do? The prices is going higher and higher and higher. It is, the Prime Minister advises us that we have to start walking. He says he walks. And I'm not disputing that maybe he takes a little stroll when he goes to hand out grocery bags or food, or he walks to his constituents in his constituency when he goes to campaign. When he goes to campaign, even if he walks in town, it's like a little campaign thing. I'm telling you, if you have a vehicle, you're not just going to walk to say that. The likelihood, you're not going to do it, but if you're campaigning, you will, right? And so when he goes to campaign and he goes to do his particular, publicity walks, then that's fine. But for the average Jane and Joe, we out here who has to go and work and do certain things, that's not practical. It's not practical. So what is it? Now, there's something called a Keystone XL pipeline. And I'm going to want that particular ad. This is a particular project that was supposed to connect and get us fuel. When I say us, it was going to go straight to Houston, Texas, from Canada. We're going to speak on this right now, just briefly. And it's like a 2-minute video, but it's very informative because it was stopped because it was going to go through particular areas that I said was ancestral land for the Native Americans. Now you had certain Native Americans that were in support of the project, and you have a few of them, some of them who were not. Now, if you look at what some of the Democrat leaders, they are they're totally against fossil fuel, and they want this green energy and so forth. No, nothing wrong with green energy, but unless and until we're at a level whereby we have, we have cleaner energy, we have solar panels, we have this wind energy, whatever it is, biomass, that is ample, that we won't be having shortage like what had happened in Texas. Remember what happened in Texas when they ran out? They were cold, they didn't have any fuel. Could you ever believe it? Them, when they have their oil refineries and all that, well, it happened to them, okay? So if it can happen to them, it can happen to us in Belize. So we have to now look at the fact that what happens, what would help Belize? What would help us? Now, I've been looking at this situation. I've always looked at the Keystone pipeline because I was somebody who, I don't support drilling oil and digging for oil and trying to get it in our sea. Let me put that one out there. So offshore drilling and all that, that's not what I support for Belize. Not for us. But I don't have an issue when it comes to land. Okay, that's a totally different thing. And especially when it's done by entities that they know what they're doing and that they can deal with certain, they have the certain regulations and a certain regulatory arm, inspection arm that can protect them. Now there are certain countries that has been an issue, and I won't say that there haven't been oil spillage and there haven't been certain things. In Nigeria, in certain parts, Brazil, certain parts of South America. I'm not saying I haven't seen those things happening, right? Gulf, the Gulf of Mexico right here, I've seen it. So we've seen it. However, we're talking about trying to ensure fuel, energy, and, freedom, and ensure that we have affordable energy. And Belize, we're not at that level, so we have to look at what would be in our best interest. And in this case, because we don't have a refinery, we need the entities close to us, the countries close to us, or region, to be self-sustainable, to not have to be dependent on Russia, for example, on the OPEC countries. All right, these oil-producing countries are such that they dictate what happens to us. And as you very well know, I just told you, oil, gas affects all of us, everything. Our everything. You understand? Even our electricity, everything, it affects. What we do, what we can do, what we cannot do, it affects us. And we need affordable energy. And so I want to play quickly. Ruben Martinez says, I'm surprised Belize haven't invested in an oil refinery. Ruben, and it's not because there have not been people who are willing to invest. Okay? That clearly is not the case. There have been people who have been willing to invest. but it has to be such that we have enlightened individuals that are open to working with these particular people to ensure that we get this refinery done. Because yes, we're a small country, but remember, we're also a country that connects. You understand? Like we connect. See where we're located? Who's right next to us? Central America, right? Then you have Mexico. It's not like we shouldn't also, we have the capabilities. You understand? And at the end of the day, anything happens to this, we have the right to be able to produce and refine oil for our country, and any excess export where we need to export, the Caribbean, or Caribbean brothers and sisters, Central American brothers and sisters, whoever. But anyway, let's go to the Keystone XL pipeline. It's a very short video, but watch it.
The cancellation of the Keystone XL pipeline construction has some lawmakers concerned about the economic impact in the United States.
And the Biden administration says this move is about protecting the climate and future jobs in Washington. News Nation's Rashad Hudson has the latest.
Indiana Congressman Andre Carson says President Joe Biden's decision to cancel the permit for the Keystone pipeline is the right call.
So as we face the climate crisis, our country has to lead by prioritizing a clean energy economy.
The Keystone XL pipeline carries Canadian crude oil into the U.S. Carson says halting the project is about protecting the environment.
We're already seeing the dangerous and deadly effects of climate change. And I think in a time of crisis, the world has looked to America for leadership.
But Republicans say canceling the pipeline will eliminate thousands of union jobs they say President Biden promised to protect.
We know it's going to lose jobs because they already has. As soon as he did the executive order, it shut down.
Ohio Representative Bob Gibbs rejects the administration's claim that the pipeline isn't safe or environmentally friendly.
You know, they have all kinds of technology to shut the pipelines down if there was a leak, and they monitor that all the time. So it's a very safe way.
Gibbs is also concerned that the move could increase the gas prices for millions of Americans.
We could see, you know, the $4 or $5 gas again instead of the $2 and $2.50 gas.
President Biden says canceling the pipeline sends an important signal to the world that the U.S. is moving away from fossil fuels. In Washington, Rashad Hudson, News Nation.
Ready? Okay. All right. So, all right, guys. So that's the Keystone pipeline. All right. Before I get into that, Carly and Flores, good night, my friend. He says, Ms. Z, you are declaring a word of wisdom. No talk show in this country has a host or hosts who speak the truth and with conviction as you do. I am listening keenly to what you are saying, and you are accurate. There has to be a reason why Putin has been demonized. For years, the mainstream media of Western superpowers have been telling us who are good and who are bad. Yet these superpowers have been responsible for many destabilized nations and the control of developing nations that are buried in mountainous depths. So true. So true. You see? And it is time for truth to reign, and we are prepared to suffer the consequences. Each time I watch your show, I sense an urgency in my spirit. I am also encouraged. Thank you very much. And Judah Booth says, Jacqueline says, I agree with you, Carleon. And that's true, man. Carleon, that's true. There has to be a reason, you understand? And if you really look into why they're demonizing this individual, they have a reason. And if we sit back and we just allow certain things to continue, then we too, you know, can one day, or will one day just, you know, look what's happening in Canada. I look at Canada, and I have friends in Canada. I remember once I was in Canada, and I'm going to get to this Keystone pipeline because this affects Canada. All right? This affects it. And this particular, I spoke to these particular pastors. They're my friends. And I said, well, what happened? I said, what happened? I said, you know, in Canada, I've seen that, you could have people marching in the streets there naked, naked, like literally naked. And, you know, they say they're LGBTQ, whatever, it's along, you know, they've taken over quite a number of the alphabets. And naked. And so, how can that be? How could you guys have allowed that? And it's the same time we were fighting against these things that they're pushing, these New World Order agenda. And I told you, I watched it play out with my very eyes in Australia. That's one of the countries I saw it played out, in Perth, Australia. I told you at the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting with all these prime ministers. And these are things that we are fighting against, my people. And whilst Belize, we're a small country, when you come to a big country, or a country where the leader is willing to stand up against anybody and everybody, if so be the case, then, you know, that's what's going to happen. Now, the Keystone XL pipeline. Now, this particular pipeline is a very important project, and I have literally been one where I have been watching this Keystone pipeline. Now, this Keystone pipeline, as you very well see, is a pipeline that would have allowed us to get, or the US to be able to get particular energy, but it's fossil fuel, all right? It's an oil pipeline system in Canada and USA, right? Commissioned in 2010, and it's owned by TC Energy. And as of 31st March 2020, the government of Alberta, I had that little clipping, but I'm holding off on showing that clipping, no? Now, this particular, this particular pipeline was going to be going through certain of the U.S. states, all right, because it was come from Canada, and then it was going to go straight down to Texas. But it was going to pass through certain of these entities, and it was going to cause, at least to some people, it was going to go over some of their ancestral lands that also had like cemetery and so forth. And so that was the issue. That is what was said to be the issue. Now, now it is now, okay, all right, so this pipeline now was stopped. This is something that Trump had re-signed onto. When he got into office, he had re-signed onto it. I was happy about it. I remember I was one of them who was very happy when he re-signed onto it, because, you know, I looked at it and I said, my gosh, I mean, listen, this is how I look at things. I look at things, whatever will benefit Belize, I am pro, I am supportive of that. Like, I'm this real nationalist. I will look out for Belize, even if it's not us doing it. I'm nationalistic like that. I will look out for it. And so I felt that the Keystone Pipeline, XL Pipeline project would have been a good one for Belize, all right, with the oil field. So Alberta now, Canada, and then it was in Oklahoma and so forth. It's 1,700 new miles of pipeline would have offered 2 sections of expansion in different areas. I had a little video like I told you. When Joe Biden got into office, however, remember they spoke about fracking and all these things. When Joe Biden got into office, before he got into office, he had stated, as he gets into office, he is going to stop that project. He was going to stop it. It didn't matter that these people had already invested $1.56 billion. All the pipes. It's huge. It's a lot of work, a lot of jobs, thousands of jobs for people. That didn't matter to him. And you had literally indigenous people saying, hey, 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 we're in support of this. It's not all of us that's against it. We're in support of it. We're in support of it. It didn't matter. Remember, they are pushing this climate change agenda. Listen, people, remember the New World Order, this climate change agenda, of which, remember, we had spoken about the World Economic Forum, where these individuals who were pushing for this New World Order agenda, of which climate change is one of them, and they are the ones who, while us, we will be getting into our commercial planes, you know, will be one among so many, they will get into their private jet and they will go to meetings. Just like a car, they jump into their jet and so much fuel, gallons of fuel, they will go ahead and just burn up, just use. But they're the same one that is fighting against us using it, even though it's like less than 100 fraction of what they're using. So their agenda is one that says, okay, don't go with the Keystone XL pipeline project. Go with what you call it now, wind energy, solar energy. And I'm not saying don't go with those, you know, biomass. And that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying to have stopped that project when in fact it's a finite. It's finite. There will be a time, for example, you go and you look at mining in Canada. There's a particular city in Canada named Flin Flon. By the way, it's Kelvin who's behind, you know. Kelvin is the one who is the person. Kelvin is a soil technician tonight. Big up to Kelvin, my son Kelvin LeBron, Moya Flowers. So there's this city named Flin Flon. They have been dealing with mining for umpteen years, okay? Over, I think, 60 years or something like that or more. And they recently, I think it's about a year or two ago, it's ceasing. They're not finding another, they're not finding, you know, what you call it now, the source. And so jobs would be lost. So what I'm saying is not infinite, it's finite. And so we have to understand that when we do come across certain of these particular fossil fuels, we have to make much of it. As long as, I believe so, you know what I'm saying? Because we need it. So, and unless and until the energy is such that it's perfect, you see Elon Musk pushing out his electric cars and all these things, and we see these things happening. But it is not at the level whereby, all right? Okay, so I want to just say though, that we have to be very careful with what we're saying. We have to be very, very, very careful with what we're pushing. And I speak of this because we have so many Belizean Americans. You understand? We have so many Belizean Americans who are from the US, and we have to know, look at our Belizean Americans who have the potential to write and sign on to petitions, because now, even more so now, when we see the need for these particular fuel source, energy source, and if we're Belizeans, so there's a possibility they won't listen to us. You know, we would want to sign up and sign petition and say, go ahead and open back the Keystone pipeline. I would do it. You know what I'm saying? I would be one of the first ones. However, we're not US citizens. A lot of us aren't. You understand? We may have children or so who are, but they're young. So we have to appeal to some of our Belizean Americans to start to look into this area, and those of you who have the potential, even our Canadian brothers and sisters that are watching this show as well, to say, hey, what can you do to try and revive and see if the same Justin Trudeau would open up now and say, hey, let's look at what's happening now. Look at what if they hate Putin so badly, and the oil prices is going up, because you have to understand Canada has the fuel to send down to the US, but that pipeline is stopped. You see, so they have the fuel, but it's stopped. We need the fuel here in Belize. We need it desperately. We need it. We can't afford to be paying fuel for a cost that will go beyond 15. Hell, we shouldn't have even been paying fuel beyond, I would say, I don't know, $8. I think $8 was too high to begin with, but now we're way beyond $8. That ship has sailed. That ship has sailed. And it will continue sailing, because we're talking about a finite commodity. All right? We're talking about a finite commodity. I have one of my friends saying, messaging me and saying, middle finger for Putin. You know, and that's fine. Like I said, you know, that's fine. Some people hate Putin, and I have other friends telling me other stuff, you know, in support. But I want to just say, and I know that the time is nearing, is that, let me just tell you right now, is that we have to be careful what we're doing, who we're supporting. We got to open up our minds. We have to open up as to what we're saying, what we're agreeing to. I've spoken about different measures. If you have any kind of, and I'm hoping that our own Prime Minister, you know, we do have ambassadors, you understand, and they can support certain initiatives. You see, we have Mexico, our neighbor, and so even Mexico now is such that we need to have a dialogue, a very good dialogue. I mean, with fairness, I see the Minister of Agriculture, Jose Mai, he has been trying to push certain agriculture initiatives. You understand? And I must say, Jose Mai was, when I was the Registrar of Cooperatives and Credit Unions in the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries, back in 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, he was also there, and he was, I think, from 2003, because I think that's when their government got in, I think. Was it? Yeah, well, anyway, he was there during that time, and he was dealing with a project. And so he has been in the Ministry of Agriculture, you see. I think it was an Orange Walk project he was dealing with, you see. So we have certain initiatives going on with Mexico. We need to continue with those particular initiatives even further, and especially right now when it comes to the gas situation. So with that said, open up our eyes, people, and you know, I just want to say that again, I wanted the show to just be one whereby I just brought out these, because sometimes when I have guests, I don't get to speak. It's limiting on me to speak and to just speak on certain things. And some of you who have messaged me and been sharing certain videos and so forth, I appreciate it. I can't say I look at every single one of them. I do my best to look at as much as I can. And just because the show, I don't want it to go as long, I do know it's gone beyond an hour and a half, and so I will be ending right now. But next week we will be having our guests, and I want to just say that one of there's a particular conference that will be happening this particular week, and my friend, let me see. All right, so it's been coordinated by Mayor Sharon Palacio, and it is She for She Champions World Summit, and it will be held at the Best Western Belize Biltmore Plaza towards inclusive leadership in governance and political affairs. Okay? And so this particular event will be happening the same week. I think Friday night we'll be having a meet and greet, and then Saturday I'll also be a part of that. I'll also be giving a speech, a presentation at that as well. And so that is one of the things that's happening, and I want to big her up for the initiative. As women and as women leaders, we need more women to step forward and just continue pushing that our voices are heard, because a lot of us, we do have a brain. A lot of us, we do utilize our brain and we try to reach out and you know, so I just want to say that big up her and the Belmopan City Council for this particular initiative. I also want to big up my friend, Mrs. Leandra Thompson. She's coming in from Houston, and they'll be dealing with the Tri-County Regional Black Chamber of Commerce. And so they'll be having, and they'll be bringing in certain individuals, certain investors into the country. And again, I've been invited to that as well. So they have a meet and greet, I think, when is it? So the same weekend as well. No? So, and then they also have the particular initiative. So things are happening. And we just have to know that whilst we're living in this particular era whereby, you know, we've been restrictive, I also just simply want to tell you that let me just tell you quickly with that, because this is for those people who are interested. Let me see, she had invited me, so let me just tell you quickly. Sunday, March the 6th, they have the meet and greet at Belize Best Westerns, 5 to 7:30 p.m. And then they have the B2B pre-arranged meetings, all right? So they'll be having their delegation, and in the particular area, so the business-to-business meetings. And this international mission, you know, they're here in the area about trade, finance, resources, all right? So it's just they're exploring and learning about the resources that are available to expand business development and growth insights with the U.S. So it's a Tri-County Regional Black Chamber of Commerce, and they've had this initiative because when I was mayor of Belize City, it's one that I used to, for my first year, 2006, I celebrated, I was also a part of that as well. No? So again, for those who tune in, today is a special day. Today is March 1st, 2022, and it was 16 years ago. 16 years ago, can you imagine? When I first got elected on 1st March 2006. So it's been a while. So it's just special for me. Tomorrow is my mother's birthday, so big up my mom. So today was my second mom's birthday. May she rest in peace. All right, she would have been 81. And then tomorrow is my real mom's birthday. My mom, my biological mom. You understand? And I think, how old will she be? I think 81. 81. Okay, so they were like almost like born almost the same day, just hours apart. So it's kind of, it's something for me because, you know, these two individuals, I mean, one is my mom, the next one's like my second mom, and I love them both, you know what I'm saying? And so they help shape who I am. My mom is a very strong black woman. And my second mom who passed away, she was such a sweet, nice person. I'm not saying she wasn't strong, she was just sweet and nice. And so, you know, it's just, my mom was very strong, my dad was a sweet, nice person too, you know, this nice little Spanish man. And so it's just something, I'm a mixture of it. So with that said, I want to also say that I want to thank Kelvin. Kelvin, you have been very, very, very helpful tonight. My son Kelvin is, for those of you, let me just say this, the one last thing though. Gonzalo Heredia says, what those lovers of the U.S. empire should know is that their beloved USA is responsible for horrible atrocities committed all over this earth for more than 70 years and have invaded and overthrown dozens of governments. People need to stop getting their worldview according to what fake news, CNN, and the rest of mainstream media says. Nancy DePaz says, good job, Kelvin. Yeah, so my son, Kelvin, and when I asked him, I said, Kelvin, can you do this by yourself? Kelvin's like, yes, Mom. I said, you sure you don't want me to bring it? He said, no, Mom, I can do it. And so I just want to say, this is what you have to do, people. You have to get, because it's a bit difficult, like I told you, especially when we had the curfew, trying to take home your guests or try to take home your technician. It becomes very difficult, and so if it's easier, then hey, that's better for me. You understand? And so, Kelvin, I just want to big you up and say thank you, my son. He's only 12 years old, people, and he's a technician. He's literally doing, if you look here, you're going to see cameras, and he has his all the controls, and he's doing all of those things. He has his mixer and all that, and his mics, he's the one who set me up. He's the one who set me up, and he fixes the sound, and he does all of these. He's the one who pulls all the videos. He uploads, downloads it. He's the one who names the show. He's the one who put the description. He's the one who goes live. He has done everything. I can't say I have done anything. He has done everything. And so I just want to say that it's him. So Judah Boot, Jacqueline, my friend, Jacqueline, if Jacqueline says kudos to Kelvin, impressive, it's a big deal. Because Jacqueline has been dealing with a talk show when she, in her time, and so she knows about this. So if she says it's impressive, it's a big deal. So with that said, remember, this is being brought to you through the courtesy, and remember Palote High School has their raffle. And so we just want to say, all right, news from Rion, Canadian Peppers, Real G News updates, and my friend George Dweck. I want to big up George Dweck, my friend from Spanish Lookout. George Dweck has this special yogurt it's not just yogurt, it's like a bacteria that helps you, and it helps you so that he has all of these things, but anyway, it helps you in terms of keeping your cholesterol low and all these things, and help you to lose weight and clean you out. So I just want to big him up and big up all those other individuals who are looking at areas to ensure that and so you can get this particular bacterial, it's a special kind of yogurt, but you like take 2 spoonfuls a day. And anyway, so these things are available. You can always reach out to, I'm sure Spanish Lookout has it. He's supposed to try and get it in Belize. And so everybody continue to plant. Karen, my friend, I know you continue to do your thing. I really love what you do, my friend. Just continue doing it, Karen Banner. And I'm going to say, see Belize Vacation Rentals and Tours. We're located at 5 Mile Philip Golson Highway. Give us a call. The number is 501-615-4465 or 4467. Okay, so it's easy to remember. We have beautiful apartment, studios, and of course suite. So it's up to you which one you want to choose. The beautiful pool is there, and hey, you know, weekends, come book your room. You have families coming in from wherever. It's a great place to be. You have a nice, beautiful, crystal clear 40-foot pool, 6 feet deep one area. The other is almost 4 feet, just under 4 feet high. So you have this shorter area for those who can't swim. So visit us. We do have our website, www.seabelizevacation.com, and of course we're on Sea Belize Vacation Rental. So go ahead, support. This is being funded by Sea Belize Vacation Rentals. And again, you want your realty. You also have Shepherd Belize Real Estate, Shepherd Belize Realty. So go ahead, support. So with that said, thank you very much. Go ahead and play the ad for me. And I will see you next week, next week, same time, 7 p.m., God willing. So I'll see you there. Good night, my friends. Good night. Love you. Good night.